my channel. I'm so excited to have you guys here. This video is going to be my starting video, and so I wanted to make it all about natural hair because that's my specialty. It's called Natural Hair 101, and we're just going to take a deep dive, well, I'll say rather a shallow dive into a wide range of topics about how to take care of your natural hair, because I work with a lot of women who really struggle with their natural hair and just don't know where to start, don't know what to do, because we weren't always taught what to do. A lot of us just don't have those role models. I'm so grateful that the next generation is going to have those role models, but for those of us who, like myself, Gen Z, millennials, we didn't have those role models to teach us how do you take care of your hair. So that's what this video is all about. Think of me like your big sis sitting you down. It's very relaxed, hits the pajamas, just explaining to you all there is to know about natural hair so that you can do it yourself. You don't feel the fear of like, I don't know what to do, or dependent on a stylist. While it is great to have a professional partner, you need to know what you're doing too, to feel confident in yourself. But before we jump in, a little bit about me. I'm Rachel Bergeron. I'm new to the creator space. What I want to do is just help people with embracing their natural beauty. That's why I call my channel Naturally Rach B, because I just see all these things that aren't our authentic selves, because we're trying to make ourselves into this standard that is so high, instead of just pouring that love into our natural bodies and our natural beauty, pouring that love into our natural hair, pouring that love into our glowing skin, pouring that love into growing out your nails, just all around, and your natural body. Just going to the gym, practicing wellness, making sure that you're healthy. All of these things are so important, and when we look good, of course we feel good. My goal is to help as many women, especially young women, up and coming women, to feel confident in themselves, especially Black women, particularly with their hair and their skin. So I'm here to spread all the knowledge that I have with you, because we're on this journey together. I'm not gonna sit here and act like it's easy every day to just wear my natural hair, come out in my skin. It hasn't always been easy, but it's a constant growth, it's constant exposure therapy, and just making that extra effort, because I promise on the other side, it's so worth it. And you just glow, because that is your true energy. So a little bit about why I'm qualified to even tell you all of these things. I studied biochemistry in college, and after school I also studied graphic design. It's my minor, so I am a little bit artsy and creative too. But after, I always wanted to go to the beauty industry, particularly because when I was in high school, y'all, I struggled. My hair looked horrible. I never felt confident in it because I didn't know how to do my natural hair. My mom has had a perm her whole life, so she did not know how to teach me neither. And I used to swim. So combine all those things, and it just means I looked a hot mess on a daily basis. And I also struggled with acne really bad. And both of those things, of course, impacted my self-confidence. And that's when I knew my goal in life is to either, at the time I thought I wanted to formulate products, but still the same goal applies, that I want to help women not feel this way, because I was such a smart girl. I had so much potential, but I wouldn't even want to show up in spaces because I didn't feel confident in myself. So I want to help women, especially young women who are learning these things to apply them later in life, how to take care of themselves, what they have naturally, so they can feel great. They can go in those spaces, they can be those lawyers, they can be doctors, they can be on the TV screen, they can shine and be their best because they feel great. That's step one, feeling great. And we don't have to always break the bank. We don't always have to cover ourselves, our true selves up to feel great. So that's my goal. And after I finished studying biochemistry and graduated from the University of Miami, just a little shout out, I now work in the hair industry. Actually, I'm not a cosmetologist, but I am a hair scientist. So I use my scientific knowledge and my knowledge that I acquired on my natural hair journey to work as a role that's called a hair analyst. So I work for a company that analyzes hair. We do it via microscope or AI, and basically recommend the best products for you. So I spend a lot of my time looking at hair strands, literally all different types and textures, and I analyze them, and I provide women with the right routine and the right products for them to reach their goals. So That being said, I have several years of experience in natural hair, both personal and in professional. And I just have a deep love for science, beauty, the branding of beauty, all of those things. So that's kind of where my knowledge base is coming from. It's just really nice to meet all of you guys. And definitely in the comments, let me know who you are, because I want to connect with you. I want to build a community here for those of us who are trying to embrace our natural selves, but maybe struggling. So definitely in the comments, let me know who you are. I would love to meet you. And tell me about yourself. Tell me what things you need help with. Is it your skin? Is it your hair? Is it just the self-esteem part? Like, do you have things that will be considered beautiful, but you still haven't embraced them? And I know it's hard for everybody, especially Black women. It's just hard sometimes because our society is not always tailored to us. So we have to kind of actually do a lot of work to feel beautiful in society. I have my notepad and I want to hop in. I'm going to let you guys know the basics or all the principles so that you can get started today with taking care of your hair properly. I'm gonna try to keep it as simple as possible for someone who's like have a low budget and I don't have a lot of time. I don't know what to do. And then we'll work our way up to more advanced. All right, so first section, getting to know your hair. This is one of my biggest catchphrases, like spend time with your hair. We may not all be blessed with so much time, but whatever time you do have, spend it on yourself. You deserve it. Hair care is self-care. I believe that because I just did this flexi rod set and I feel great because I feel like I look beautiful, you know, and it was time that I spent on myself unapologetically. So get to know your hair, spend time with it, touch it, feel it, see the things that work, see the things that don't. Or if you don't have time for that, go to a stylist and talk to them about what they're observing. So there's 4 main things that I think you should know about your hair to be able to maintain it properly. So first one is type, of course, to state the obvious. Hair type is the curl pattern of your hair, the shape. Curly hair, we have coily hair, and we have kinky hair. So of course the type system, don't get caught up in that because it's just okay. There's a lot more to know about your hair, and a 4A could be a lot of things. Curls are going to be larger spirals to tinier spirals. Coils, you're getting more like a spring in a pen or a pencil. Kinks are really tight. They're almost like more of a Z pattern. And so these different types have different needs as well as different struggles or challenges that you may need to address. Curly hair can tend to get more frizzy. Coily hair can tend to get more tangled, and kinky hair may have more of a tendency to get drier. So first, identifying what your true hair type is important because it'll help you pick out the right products and maybe look up routines online as you continue to learn more. Okay, next is texture, and I'll actually beg to say that texture is more important than your hair type. And this is because it's how your hair feels when it's moisturized. Don't feel your hair when it's dry and say, I have coarse hair, because that's what everybody does. Trust me, in my work experience, everyone thinks they have coarse hair. Most of the time it's because their hair is dry. If your hair is actually moisturized, how would it feel? So we have fine hair, we have medium hair, we have coarse hair. That's based off of the size of your actual strands. Doesn't matter what the shape is, just the diameter of the strands. And this can determine how it performs. So like fine hair is more fragile because the strands are so tiny, they're really fragile. So you have to be gentle. They also, if you have oilier hair, they might be weighed down. But if you don't really have oil, that may not be a problem. Medium strands are perfect in the middle between fine and coarse. So I'll kind of jump back to them last actually. Coarse strands are very large. So the benefit of that is they have great style memory. They do typically need a little bit more on the moisture end. And they can have a rougher, I won't even say rough. A nice comparison is fine hair is like silk, cotton hair is like medium, and coarse hair is like wool. So it just has that different texture and feel to it. And medium is perfectly in the middle. It can maintain some volume, but it also is stronger, so it might not break like fine hair. So it's a perfect in the middle because the coarse hair sometimes might be more weighed down because it's such a large strand, just depending. Why I say texture is more important is because this can determine what products you're using to actually get moisture into your hair. So because moisture is such a big thing, sometimes it's not as dependent on the curl pattern, it's more dependent on the actual strands. So next is density. Your density is how many strands you actually have on your head, like how thick is your hair. So if you almost look at like a square inch of your hair, how many strands are you counting? Some people are gonna have fewer in a square inch, some people are gonna have the average, and then some people are actually gonna have a lot, have very thick hair. And if you really look at your hair follicles, sometimes you'll notice that more than one strand is growing out of each. So that can sometimes create for thicker, more dense hair. So this can matter because, like for myself, I have dense hair. So sometimes that affects how long it takes to dry. I might need to work on my hair in sections because if I try to do it all at once, a lot of areas will actually just not get any moisture or attention. So that can impact also the look of your hair because it might look more naturally full, or if you have more thin density, your hair might look less full naturally. So you may want to focus on volumizing in your styling. And then if you have average density, I feel like that's kind of the best of both worlds. You can volumize it and it looks really thick, but it's not too thick that it can become a little bit hard to manage. And last is porosity. You're gonna hear a lot about porosity online. That's definitely been one of the things that's kind of blown up in the natural hair community. The biggest thing to remember about porosity is just saying how your hair absorbs moisture, and it is important, in my opinion, to take note of it, but it's not everything. Because if you're taking care of your hair properly, it will be moisturized. So average porosity is your hair absorbs water or moisture well and it retains it well. Lower porosity is your hair cuticle layer, which is the top layer of your hair, is very tight. So what this means is it's hard for moisture to enter your hair strands, so sometimes this can create for really dry hair. Now, I said the cuticle layer, which is the top layer of your hair, is, think of it as like this. Medium would be like this, slightly raised, so moisture can enter. High would be like this, it's too raised, so moisture is coming in, but it's going right back out. With high porosity, you're absorbing moisture like even faster than average, but that moisture is leaving your hair pretty much just as fast. So with high porosity, the tip is to seal your hair. So once you apply moisturizing products, you seal it with an oil to help trap the moisture. For a lower porosity, the trick is to use steam therapy to open up your cuticles to allow moisture to penetrate. So you'll learn a few of these tips and tricks along the way, and that helps make things easier. However, the best thing to note is, aside from density for the most part, the other categories, type, texture, and porosity, you can have multiple on one head. So for me, I'll give you an example. My hair is coily for the most part. I have some curly sections at the top and like a little kinky sections in like the kitchen, you know. Texture wise, I'm pretty much medium, honestly. I do have some finer strands at the top of my hair, but I am more of a medium coarse for the most part with my strands. Then for my density, I'm thick. That's pretty much all around. Only place where I would say it's not is like the front edges, but I mean that's most of us just because of styling. Then for porosity, I'm naturally low porosity, so I observe low porosity, but your hair can become more porous or higher porosity through wear and tear. So things like heat, any intense styling damage, just I don't know, existing longer. It's just like when you get older, your skin kind of wears down a little bit, those things of that nature. It's the same with your hair because the ends are the oldest, so my ends are a little bit more high porosity actually. So when I apply products, I see a difference at the top of my hair versus the bottom in terms of like their absorption. For porosity, the best test, we will see a few tests online. The best one in my scientific opinion is to clarify your hair. You want to make sure there's no product buildup on your hair that's making it look low porosity, and it's not. Clarify your hair. Take a spray bottle, get in the mirror, spray your hair. If the water absorbs like instantly, you're high porosity. If it maybe bubbles a little and then it absorbs, average. If you just see beads everywhere and the beads of water just stay there for a while, low porosity. Other ways you can tell your porosity too is if you have color in your hair or you have a perm or chemical treatment, that automatically raises your cuticle layer, so that makes you high porosity. 9 times out of 10. Often natural curly, coily, kinky hair often has a raised cuticle, so it's more on the high porosity and naturally, but that is not everybody's case. Okay, so now that you know about your hair, evaluate your hair and figure all these things out so that you can then know what best to do for your hair. And just be familiar with it when you're at the store. If you see products that say this is best for high porosity, you're like, oh great, that's me. I can try this out. You see products that's like, okay, it's for kinky hair. Okay, that's me. I'm gonna try this out. So you know exactly what you want. Or when you're with someone doing your hair, or you're doing your hair, you can find proper tutorials online. Especially if you use social media to get inspiration, it's best to find somebody who has a similar hair type to you if you are very attached to their results. So just use that caveat in that sense, because most people are not explaining to you the differences that you would need to accommodate for with different hair elements. We know our hair now. We're ready to move on to our routine. So the routine, again, I'm gonna try to keep this as basic as possible, but I know this is a lot. Let's take a 5-second breather. Okay, now we're gonna move on to the routine. You've got this. I know this could be a lot and overwhelming, but it's gonna be okay. So for routine, this starts with cleansing or shampooing your hair. Important things to know. Cleansing should be regular. Figure out what works best for you in your schedule. I know realistically, we may not all be able to wash our hair every week, especially if you have a lot of density or just a lot of hair. It may be harder time-wise on your schedule, but you do need to make time for this because it's important. It's hygiene. So figure out what works for your schedule. I will give you maximum a month. I know. Max a month. Nothing less. Nothing more, rather. Ideally, bi-weekly or weekly. I will say though, you can base this off of your scalp. If you're like me, you might have a sensitive scalp that is not going to accept more than 2 weeks maximum of no washing. It's going to start spazzing. Really, my scalp likes a weekly wash. So do with that what you will, but if your scalp is telling you it's time, it's kind of on fire, it's getting oily or it's itchy, it's time to wash. If you want to grow your hair, weekly is definitely the best because a clean scalp is the foundation of your hair. So if your scalp is not clean, your hair is not going to grow well. Because you have to think about your scalp is like the soil for the plant that is your hair. So if the soil is not kept well, the plant is not going to grow well. So if you want to grow your hair, I would say weekly or up to bi-weekly. If you just really are like going through it, life is lifing, a month. Maybe buy some like scalp refreshers or something, use in between. Or if you get oily, you could use a dry shampoo. Typically, those of us in the curly, coily, kinky range aren't getting oily as bad, so we're not really dabbling with the dry shampoos. But if that's you, you could use it. But not really my recommendation, honestly. And whatever you do, just make it a routine. Because your hair is going to thrive with consistency, most importantly. Okay, so when you're shampooing, you might be like, okay, what shampoo? Because there are 2 types of shampoos, cleansers and shampoos. Let me know if you want a video on more in-depth of like what shampoo should I use, cleansers versus shampoos, what is that even, all of the things. Let me know in the comments if you want a video about that. But you want to cleanse and you want to shampoo. Cleansing is getting rid of all the dirt, buildup, oil. Shampooing is also doing that lightly, but it's mainly focusing on replenishing the moisture in your hair, or you can use it for a specific purpose like volumizing, or if you have any thinning, you can get specialty shampoos for that. So if you're washing weekly, you may not need to cleanse every week, just depending on your hair. For me, I use a lot of product and my scalp, again, does start to get itchy. So I do like to at least cleanse my scalp every week, but I might just use a moisturizing shampoo on my hair for that week. But if you are doing the weekly shampoos, by the time a month comes around, really my rule in general, every time a month comes around, you need to be clarifying your hair or deep cleansing to make sure that you're getting rid of all buildup from that month so that your hair can receive moisture. Going back to like our know your hair tips for each porosity here, if you have low porosity like myself, I do try to focus on cleansing and clarifying my hair, because if you have buildup, that's going to prevent moisture from getting in. If you're already struggling with a tight cuticle, that's going to be worse. So making sure your hair is clean every wash day is always a great place to start, so you can get the proper moisture. If not, you can just do the shampoos in between, and then again on that month mark, clarified. Really make sure it's clean. The trick is with shampooing, you know that your hair is clean if the shampoo is very foamy. If you put the shampoo on your hair and it's barely lathering, you need to keep going. It's not clean. There's a lot of dirt and buildup. So you want to shampoo pretty much until you're like, it's fully foamy. You only use a dime-sized amount and it's just foaming. That's letting you know your hair is clean. It's typically, for me, I will go in with the cleanser first. It's typically going to be not really foamy because, again, my hair is probably dirty. I might focus just on the scalp if it has been like a week or two. And then I'm going to go in with my moisturizing shampoo twice. Or if you are the type that's waiting a month to shampoo, go in with that clarifying shampoo twice, then follow up with a moisturizing shampoo, because your focus should be really on getting rid of buildup. The goal is to cleanse your hair of all buildup. I won't say strip because y'all gonna get scared, but in the hair community, strip your hair clean so that it is open and ready to receive moisture. So then when you hit it with the moisturizing shampoo or the hydrating shampoo, it can just receive all of that moisture and it'll feel amazing. Now that you've cleansed your hair, it's time to condition your hair. So for shampoo and condition, now I like to also deep condition. This is also very important for naturals, especially when it comes to moisture, just giving your hair that extra love. You don't have to deep condition every single wash day. I like to, but that's not a must by any means. You can just use regular conditioner, quick 5 to 10 minutes, and call it a day, especially if you have more average to high porosity where your hair is going to accept that moisture readily. It's best to use a conditioner that complements the shampoo that you're using. I'll use Design Essentials as an example. If you're using their almond and avocado shampoo, it's great to follow up with the almond and avocado conditioner. My note is conditioners are meant to coat your strands. So if you're going to use a deep conditioner, I would go in with the deep conditioner first, then use the conditioner after to coat all the goodness that you got out of the deep conditioner, because the deep conditioners are meant to really penetrate your strands and get, go deep. So you wouldn't want to put the conditioner on your strands to coat your strands and then try to put a deep conditioner on that cannot really penetrate, because if the conditioner did its job, it shouldn't be able to really get in. For the most part, you should be deep conditioning with a moisturizing deep conditioner, but protein is also something that's very important for our hair. Moisture and protein in balance. You don't want too much of either because then your hair will fall out of whack. But from a porosity standpoint, the lower your porosity, the more moisture to protein you need for the ratio, versus higher porosity, you might need more protein. So every so often, as needed, you'll, instead of doing a mask or a deep conditioner, you'll do a protein treatment. It helps to fortify your strands and replenish the protein that might be missing because your cuticle layer is raised, or if you have heat damage. So definitely I like to throw in a protein treatment before or after, not necessarily both. I do like heat styling because I don't do that often, just to help strengthen my hair because I've done something to it that might compromise that strength. If you're not good deep conditioning every wash day with a moisture mask, I would say on that month, you could do the deep conditioner. If you're doing like weekly or bi-weekly, that's where you can come in with the deep conditioner. Or if you are just washing monthly and you don't really have the need for it, maybe every other month you can hit your hair with the deep conditioner too. And so my pro tip though is to incorporate heat or steam when you're conditioning your hair. Heat or conditioning or deep conditioning. This will help to open up your cuticle to make sure that your conditioner, your deep conditioner, gets as far into your strands as possible. So what you want to do there is sit under the steamer, or you can have a handheld steamer. Pattern has a great one of those. The best thing that you can do though is, if you don't have a whole steamer device, because that is expensive, I understand. What I used to do in college was I bought this steaming cap off Amazon, and it has flax seeds in it, so you can literally just throw it in the microwave for like 2 minutes. I think it's toasty. And y'all, I would put a plastic bag on my head or a plastic shower cap, put that cap on. That was so comfortable. Like I would take a nap while I deep conditioned my hair, and it felt amazing because I had a warm head. I don't know if that makes sense, but it was just great. So don't knock it until you try it. That you've conditioned your hair, it's time to style your hair. What you want to start with styling is a good moisturizer. So you're out of the shower or out of the wash bowl, hair is wet. Now, for high porosity hair, your hair probably dried up really quick. Low porosity hair, the water probably hit the floor because your hair is not absorbing it. In average hair, your hair might still be wet. So when I come out the shower with low porosity hair And I might honestly do the same with high porosity hair because the water's going in and out. Is just wrap my hair up into like 2 or 3 twists, 2 or 4 twists or buns to try to trap the moisture. Because really the key with our hair is your hair wants water. It wants moisture. So oils and all that is not to moisturize your hair. Those are to seal the water into your hair. So you want to start with a good moisturizer with water, on wet hair, ideally. Because you really, when you come out of the shampoo bowl, you want to seal the water onto your hair. That's going to make sure it's the most moisturized as possible. So when you come out of the shower, you want to hit it with a moisturizer, a leave-in conditioner, a hair milk. You can use a spray leave-in, just something that's providing moisture. And then you're going to style your hair how you want. We will get into all types of styling. I'll do videos on how I did even this style, and to give you inspiration there. For a higher porosity hair, I would seal my hair with oil after I've had water and the moisturizer. Then I would use a little oil to seal it. So I do use the oil on my ends because again, they are a little more high porosity. And the products you use for your styling are going to be based off of what we discussed earlier, knowing your hair. And we can get into all of that more in depth later. But I would say just depending on the style that you're wanting to achieve, you can use products that say they have a stronger hold or a lighter hold, depending on what you want. If you want your hair more fluffy, voluminous, less defined, you can go for light holds or just a no hold product, just moisturizing products. If you want your hair very defined, maybe more sleek, you can go in with products that have strong holds. So like a gel, jelly, mousses, but most of all those gels, jellies, mousses, custards, all that fun stuff, they have a range of light holds to strong holds. So you just need to read the product to know, and it's based off of what you want. And then the most important thing when you're styling is to let it dry completely, because if you go out into the elements and it's not dry, the elements are going to have their way with your hair. Especially if you live in like a humid environment, it's a wrap. So let your hair dry for sure. I've made that mistake plenty of times on my journey. And it's quite disappointing. And then another thing before we just go into the last few tips for daily maintenance is detangling. So you might be like, oh, why didn't she talk about that yet? But detangling is kind of up to you where you want to do it in your routine, but it must happen. It's mandatory, but you can choose where you want to do it. There's 4 different places in your routine you could detangle. And that is, I didn't even mention a pre-poo, but especially for my coily and kinky girls, you might want to add a pre-poo to your routine if your hair is very tangled, or even my curly girls, yeah, everybody. If your hair is tangled, you want to make sure that you're pre-pooing before you put it in the wash bowl, because if you're using your clarifying or cleanser, those do not have slip to try to, keep your hair from tangling further, because they're stripping oils off your hair, and the buildup, they might in fact create worse tangling if your hair is not properly detangled. If you're just going in with a good detangling shampoo or moisturizing shampoo, you'll be all right. But you can go with a pre-poo. I will link the one I use below because I stand by that one. It's excellent. What you can do is just get in the shower, fully saturate your hair, then apply it and detangle. Or you can do it dry, but I think just to help, it's best to detangle your hair when it's wet. But this product is very good. So you just have to, if you do it dry, you have to saturate your hair with the product. So I feel like you can use a little bit less of your product if you make your hair wet beforehand. But you can also detangle when you shampoo, kind of like I mentioned. If you have a good slip shampoo, you can just detangle then. And that honestly, if you're moisturizing shampoo or hydrating shampoo, if it doesn't have good slip, like if you can't detangle with it, it probably wasn't that good to begin with. So that's kind of a telltale sign. You can also do it when you're a conditioner. A good conditioner as well should have good slip, because all of these products, if they're designed for textured hair, they should have good slip because our hair gets tangled. That's just the reality. So if you can do it with your conditioner, that's also a good time because you want to let your conditioner sit, so that gives that time back to you anyways. Last, you can also, if your hair is just really, really tangly, that I would recommend you get a detangler product, and then you can use this like before you style your hair as your leave-in, or even mid-week if your hair just gets that tangled. Mid-week, if you have to like apply a detangler to just kind of detangle it so that it doesn't snag or pull, or you get more single strand knots or break, I would do that. But just know this step is probably one of the most important, if not the most important, in this routine, because tangles our hair, because it's curled, coiled, kinky, it's going to tangle. It naturally will just get, you know, it wraps around itself. It literally wraps around itself on each individual strand and makes single strand knots, because that's not something our straight haired friends experience. It's just not, and typically not even the wavy haired friends. Especially coily and kinky, single strand knots are just gonna be a killer. I get a ton of them. It's best to just trim it off if you see it, because it's not gonna go anywhere. It's just gonna create for more splitting and breakage. But yeah, tangling is one of the biggest reasons why your hair might be breaking, and especially if you try to get in your hair and you're not gently detangling, that's when you hear those pops and those snaps and your hair is breaking off. And that's why you might not be reaching the length you want to reach, because your hair's tangled. But also, just to create nice styles like this, I had to make sure my hair is very detangled so that each strand can get the proper product and adjust to the style that I set it in. So if you didn't hear anything else today, detangle for sure, but make sure your hair is wet and you have a high slip product and a great tool like a wide tooth comb to start, and then a detangling brush to finish. You can also use your fingers, but you do want to use a tool. So if you want to start with your fingers to, you know, get through it gently, that's great. But once it's fairly detangled, make sure you go in there with a good detangling brush. Last but not least, daily maintenance. So you've done all this at the wash. Well, wash day is over. Now what? The first thing that's so important is wrapping your hair at night. I have met a lot of women who do not wrap their hair, and then they're like, I don't know, my hair's a hot mess. Silk or satin only on your hair, like this pajama set. For your pillowcase and your bonnet and your scarf. When I wrap my hair, I use a scarf to pineapple it, or if I'm putting it back or up, use a scarf first, a satin one, then I put my satin bonnet on top, then I lay my head on my satin pillow. And if you want to get really advanced, satin sheets, just in case your bonnet falls off, you still have satin on your hair. Also, satin's great for your skin too, so I'm just very pro satin and silk in general. But this is important because this satin is so smooth that my hair just slips off of it, so it's no friction. Cotton pillows, which a lot of people still sleep on, they're porous. That's why our towels are cotton, because they absorb water. So guess what your cotton pillowcase is going to do to your hair? Absorb the moisture out of it. It's not frictionless, so it's actually gonna be like ripping your hair. So your hair's going to break and it's going to be dry. And then you're sleeping on it all night. So do the math there. Your hair's not gonna be great after that. You have to pay attention because I've had bonnets before that are not satin. They're just these random materials that are also leaching the moisture out of my hair or just causing friction. So make sure that you are doing satin and silk, satin and silk, satin and silk. Another thing that's important is you're making sure that you're trimming your hair. Your ends are going to split, your ends are going to break. They are the oldest part of your hair. They are tired, they are worn. So you want to make sure that you're trimming them with shears, not scissors. Shears have a special shape that allows them to cut hair specifically. Scissors, if you cut your hair with regular scissors, is going to leave your ends in a place to split further. So making sure you're trimming regularly. I recommend going to a professional that you trust. Emphasis on trust, because I've had someone trim my hair that really cut my hair and I was depressed because I love the length of my hair at that time. So someone you trust. If not, you buy some shears. I bought mine off Amazon, and just use them to lightly dust your ends. You can just pull your hair like that and just snip, snip, snip any split ends that you see. I see one right here, and I'm gonna cut it when I get off. Just snip them off. It's best, in my recommendation, is to blow dry your hair or press it, or at least stretch it out so that you can clearly see what you're cutting, because sometimes when our hair is curled up, it's just a little bit more difficult to see what we're cutting, and you cut a lot more length off than you thought because your hair is tightly coiled. So that's important, because if your ends are split, they're going to start splitting up the shaft and you will lose more length than you are growing. So if you just cut a little bit off, I promise you will still grow your hair. The goal is to be cutting less off than you're growing, but still preventing your hair from splitting. And then if you need to re-moisturize throughout the week, you can. This is again why I do recommend weekly washing or bi-weekly, because if you're doing your wash day right, you really shouldn't need to re-moisturize, but everyone's hair type is different. And so if you do need to re-moisturize, especially like if it's the winter, for example, I mean, the air is dry, or if you live in a drier climate, you may need to re-moisturize. I'll use a light moisturizer like a hair milk. You can also use your leave-ins. Just lightly spray your hair with water first, because you want to, that's what you really want to trap on your hair. Put the moisturizer in and style it as you need. This could also be a great opportunity to detangle again if your hair has gotten very tangled. As if you do want to see growth, I recommend you use a scalp massager on your wash day, but during the week, just give yourself a scalp massage. Not only is it therapeutic and just relaxing, but it's going to help increase your blood flow and increase your hair growth subsequently. So that's also a nice tip, because I get asked a lot about ways to grow your hair, help your hair be thicker, and that's some of the great things that you can do. So that is all for Natural Hair 101 for beginners. This is just the beginning of this journey, and I know that if you apply these tactics to get started, your hair is going to look amazing. I will remind you as a beginner to be patient. Consistency is very important, but more than that, just loving yourself, giving yourself grace as you figure this out. It may not be easy at first. It may take some exposure therapy to love yourself and love your hair as it is, but I promise you that it will be worth it. You just have to give it your all. It's like anything we want in life. You have to be consistent. You have to show up. If you want your hair to be healthy, you're gonna have to put in some love into your hair. But remember, it's putting love into yourself. So it is not a burden. You are beautiful and your hair is flourishing. It's going to look amazing. I just cannot wait to continue this journey with you guys. Make sure you like this video if it was helpful. Let me know in the comments any questions you have as we get started on this journey, and subscribe so that you can be the first to know about the next videos to come. Stay beautiful and remember to embrace your natural beauty.